Hello everybody, good evening, welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and we got a special show for you because we've got Ornstein and we've got Romano and we've got loads and loads of updates. I'm excited because we've got news, so much news. There should be a part 1 and a part 2. I need to save some of this for the morning, but I'm not going to. It's a little bit like Christmas Day morning when you open up, you got loads of presents and your parents say save some till later and you say save your breath. Get out of my way, I'm unwrapping them all. We're ready to go. Ornstein, Romano, about 10 different updates to get into. Let's go. So, we're going to start. Oh, look, David Ornstein's spoken about Ekitike. He's spoken about Mbeumo. He's spoken about Romano. He spoke about Romano. He said, I don't like him. That's a joke. He's spoken about Amorim's transfer budget. Fabrizio's spoken about Gyokeres. He's also spoken about Ekitike. He spoke about Sancho. And he spoke about Rasmus and Inter. But where I want to just drop something in and then maybe come back to it is that the reports coming in from Sporting is that Jorge Mendes is now involved in the Gyokeres deal. Now, remember I said this a few days ago. We need Jorge Mendes to get involved in this deal. It's happening. Now, I'm just going to say that. But I did say a few days ago, if we want him to come to United, we need Jorge Mendes to get involved. Jorge Mendes is involved in the Gyokeres deal. We've also got an update literally in the last few minutes from Fabrizio Romano about Gyokeres. But let's start off with the David Ornstein stuff because we haven't really spoken about David Ornstein for quite a while. And he's a very, very, very credible journalist around transfers. And we've not heard from him for a while. So I want to start off with him because we hear from Fabrizio every 5 minutes. So this is what he's had to say about Ekitike, about Mbuemo, and about Man United's need to sell to buy. So Manchester United are exploring the deal for Mbeumo and he wants to join them. There's a very good chance that that deal happens, but we're not there yet. Asked if there is a striker next in line after Cunha, he said, it's certainly part of Manchester United's due diligence on that position, but I'm not aware of a striker being the next one in through the door. That's more likely to be Mbuemo if they can strike that deal, and the striker situation will be addressed subsequently, no doubt. So David Ornstein, of course, dropped the BOMBA on Mbuemo just over 2 weeks ago, and he is saying that that still is very much prominent for Manchester United. That's the deal you can expect to come in next through the door for Manchester United. So nothing's changed on that point. Interestingly, he did say after Mbuemo, he was asked about after Mbuemo, will there be any money to buy any other players, whether it be Ekitike, Gyokeres, Osman, whoever, goalkeeper, whatever. He said afterwards, after Mbuemo, you get the impression they will need to sell. So players such as Rashford, Sancho, Garnacho, Rasmus, whether that be loan or permanent, also frees up squad place for a striker. You've also got Malacia, Anthony. So suddenly you found yourself in a position where you've got a very different financial world than you are now. So effectively, I think it's not just about generating transfer fees, it's about generating space in the team. So after Mbuemo, that whole sell to buy thing looks like it's going to hit home. And remember, I spoke about that a few weeks ago, or a couple of weeks ago, about a midfielder. Very unlikely to bring a midfielder in because we can't afford it for financial reasons. And people said, well, we can. I said, no, you're not listening. We have a roster in the midfield for 2 positions with 5 players. Bruno Fernandes, Kobbie Mainoo, Casemiro, Collier, Ugarte. We're not in Europe. You can't carry 5 midfielders for 2 positions when you're not in Europe. So somebody would have to go to free up a space. And I think that's what David Ornstein's saying. We will need to start freeing up some spaces in that squad before we bring more players in. And I think that's probably likely to happen. Just very quickly, I want to talk about Ekitike because this is a big update from David Ornstein. And I've got to say, I nearly said it on the show before, but I thought I can't be bothered because people will say you haven't got a source. And I don't have a source on Ekitike. It was just a hunch. But we do have a source on Ekitike and it's a big development and it's David Ornstein. But somebody just said, who's Jorge Mendes? So Jorge Mendes used to be the agent of Cristiano Ronaldo. David De Gea may still be the agent of David De Gea. Huge amount of work done last summer on Euro to Manchester United, on Ugarte to Manchester United, and João Neves from Benfica to PSG. So massively involved in our first summer transfer window under Ineos, and expect him to be involved again, which is why I was saying if we want Gyokeres, I'll feel a lot more confident if Jorge Mendes starts to get involved. So he is apparently involved, and that's coming in. That came in from. Let me just double check where that came in from. It didn't come in from David Ornstein. It came on from reports in Portugal that Jorge Mendes is now involved in the Gyokeres case. So, yeah, let's see what happens with that one. On Ekitike, I just want to say this is David Ornstein still. This is really, really interesting. Now, I nearly said it on the show this morning, but I thought it's just an opinion piece and it's a news show in the morning. And we do have opinions, but it would have been 100% opinion. I'm not actually sure we're in for Ekitike. And I know that's a really easy get out if he signs for Liverpool or Chelsea or whoever. But I don't actually feel we're in for him. I know we've heard about concrete talks, etc. But I don't know that we're fully in on him because I don't think he actually fits. Well, this is what David Ornstein had to say. When you speak with the English clubs, they feel that they can pry Ekitike away for a bit lower than the 85 million pounds, 100 million euros that Eintracht Frankfurt want. Maybe if a club got to 80 million with some add-ons or whatever, I don't know how they would structure it, but there is some optimism that it's not quite as high, ultimately, as Eintracht are letting it be known. So what David Ornstein is saying that 100 million euros, 85 million pounds isn't what English clubs think Frankfurt will get. What he's saying is you could offer 60 and have 20 in add-ons. I mean, it's still a hell of a lot of money, though, isn't it? It's a lot of money for us. When you're spending 80 million pounds on a forward, you get Osman, you get Gyokeres. You don't go and spend it on a learner driver, in my opinion. That's the sort of thing that Liverpool can afford to do. I don't think it's a thing we can afford to do. But this was the interesting bit. He said, on Manchester United's interest in Ekitike, David Ornstein said, I don't know that they're going for him fully. So I think that's a bit hypothetical. Yeah, it seems there's been some inquiries, but that's kind of their job, to be asking after players and understanding the conditions of a deal. Maybe being interested in the player, but that doesn't mean they're going to do it. So I like that update. I hope it's true, but I always listen to Fabrizio and David when they're talking about deals like that. You know, if David Ornstein said, in relation to Gyokeres, I've been monitoring it for a couple of weeks. There's no doubt that Manchester United would like a striker like that, and I'm not doubting that they've inquired about him, but they inquire about a lot of strikers, and that doesn't mean they're going to do a deal. I'd instantly think, we're not in for Gyokeres as much as has been reported. And listening to him say basically that about Ekitike, United wouldn't be doing their job if they didn't inquire, but that doesn't mean they're going to do anything about it, and it seems a little bit that it could be hypothetical at this moment. That gives me encouragement that hopefully we're not in for him, because I think he's a good player, but I'd rather that player went somewhere else. I think it's a lot of money for the wrong type of player for what Manchester United need. And I also look at plan A, Liam Delap, and plan C or D, Ekitike, and there's a world of difference between the two players. I mean, Liam Delap is a battering ram striker, scores goals, plays on the last man, occupies defenders, runs the channels. Ekitike is more like Xerxes. He's more of a creative, he's more of a dribbler, he's more technical. So he's a very different player as well. Whereas I think Delap, Gyokeres, Osman, different, but in a way quite similar. So very interesting update on Ekitike there from David Ornstein. In summary, doesn't feel that we're in it as much as maybe other clubs are in it. Interesting. Kevin says, if Gyokeres... I've still got more to come. Romano said some bits as well. Hatlin says, if we get Brian Mbeumo and Victor Gyokeres before July, I'm happy with that. We can spend the rest of the window selling players and using those funds to bring in replacements. I'll be very happy with that, mate. I do know that we're not going to get everything done by the start of pre-season, but if we had a striker, Mbeumo and Cunha, it would be a good start. I don't expect us to buy any midfielders, and I'm quite happy with the centre-backs. So obviously I want a goalkeeper, but if they don't get players in before pre-season, they might as well sack him now and save hundreds of millions on another manager. They're going to sack him later. I mean, I heard a couple of crap things from Talk Shit today. One of them I'll talk about on That's Football, because it was about... Well, it was Nunez is a better striker than Gyokeres. Just no words. But they also had Simon Jordan on this morning saying that, with Danny Murphy, his little bitch, saying Amorim could be out of a job. But I haven't listened to it exactly, but the title was Amorim will be out of a job by Christmas, based on the fixtures. So it starts again already, doesn't it? I mean, I think we as United fans can talk about the danger of not getting transfers in. I think if he doesn't get his transfers in and we have a bad start to the season, the pressure will be on him. I don't think he'll be gone by Christmas, though. But this is the media. This is the anti-United media. They can't keep us out their bloody gob. You know? They just can't stop shoving it in and swallowing our news. It's ridiculous. He'll be out of a job before Christmas. He'll be out of a job by Christmas based on a bloody Premier League fixture list when we don't even know what signings we're going to make. It's just ridiculous. But they won't talk to United fans because they'll get sat down. They just sit there pontificating from, high up in their TalkSport towers. If Gyokeres says he wants Arsenal, how will Mendes being involved help us? Says Kevin. Well, it won't. It won't, because I was listening to... Let me just get this up for you now. This is what Fabrizio's just said in the sort of last few minutes. He says, I don't think Gyokeres said no to Manchester United. I think Gyokeres told his agents to tell Manchester United that his priority is Arsenal, which is different because the situation could change in the coming weeks. And that's sort of what I'm talking about. I'm saying that if Jorge Mendes gets involved and Arsenal sign Sesko, I think we've got a good chance. But whilst Arsenal might buy him, obviously I think he'd probably go to Arsenal. If Mendes is going to assist with Gyokeres, why would he be in for Ekitike, says Mike JW, because Gyokeres could still go to Arsenal. One Inch Wonder says Gyokeres is absolutely rubbish, but he can't be rubbish, can he, mate? He's scored more goals than most people in Europe last season. It's just not true. If Amorim wants Ekitike, will you back the decision, says David? No. I'll say Ekitike's a big load of rubbish. I'll say Amorim out. I'll call Ekitike shit every minute he plays, and I'll be screaming Amorim out every time I'm not saying Ekitike shit. The funny thing is, there's actually fans out there that would probably do that. If we buy Ekitike, I'll back him. If we'd bought Liam Delap, I'll back him. When we bought Lukaku, I didn't want him, I backed him. When we bought Matic, I didn't want him, I backed him. I don't have to agree with every decision the football club makes. In fact, I don't agree with a lot of decisions they make. But you have to move on. When we sold David De Gea and basically sacked him on holiday, I think it's one of the most disgusting things this club has done in the last few years, and it's done a lot of disgusting things. I didn't stop supporting Manchester United, I didn't stop wanting us to win, and I didn't jump on Onana and say he was shit from day one. He sort of proved that within a few weeks, but I actually did get behind him and say he's a good goalkeeper. So if we sign Ekitike, he will get my full support, and he'll get my full support for a lot longer than a few weeks. I think you've got to give new signings 2 years. I just don't think he's the right fit. I think he's expensive. That's my feeling, David. Let's move on anyway. We've got a few more comments to get into from Fabrizio. Let's be honest, Darwin Núñez is a goat, says Mr. Bruno. I don't think Darwin Núñez is as bad as some people think, but he's not as good as Gyokeres. If they don't get players in before pre-season, they might as well sack him now, says Cyber Spider, and save hundreds of millions on another manager they're going to sack anyway. Thank you very much to Cyber Spider. So also from Fabrizio, this is what he's had to say as well. He was speaking earlier about the situation with Jadon Sancho. And he said, Manchester United want a permanent transfer for Jadon Sancho and don't want to accept loan proposals. Napoli only want Sancho on loan and don't want to sign him permanently this summer. Look, I'm not going to spend a load of time on this, but Gary Owen says Mendes isn't as powerful as Mark makes him out to be. He's literally a super agent, mate. And I don't mean super in relation to very good. I mean, he doesn't really even represent players now. He doesn't do that anymore. He's a super agent. So a player will have an agent and a club will have their representatives, and Mendes will come in like a broker and make it happen. He's transcended being an agent of players. He's on a different level. He's basically the fixer. He comes in and he fixes. Have you ever seen that film, Winston Wolfe, in Pulp Fiction? When Travolta, Vincent Vega, basically does something in the car and it needs cleaning up. That's what Jorge Mendes is now. he just comes in and sorts things out. So he is very powerful. He's the reason we got Yoro, and he's the reason we got Agate, and he's the reason PSG got João Neves. He comes in and gets it done. Let's be honest, anything's better than Rasmus is simply read. Depends what that anything is. I'm going to talk about Rasmus in a minute. But just want to go back to what Sancho was saying about... sorry, not Sancho. Fabrizio was saying about Sancho. Manchester United want a permanent transfer for Sancho. They don't want to accept loan proposals. Napoli only want a loan. I've got to admit that there is definitely something about this Sancho sale that I'm going to sit there and go, if they get a sale for Jadon Sancho, I'll be stunned and I'll applaud it. But we keep hearing it from good sources that United want a sale for Jadon Sancho. What is it they know that we don't know? He didn't go to Chelsea. Why would he go somewhere else? He's clearly come back to run his contract down and make a load of money in 12 months' time. And I don't know why Man United think they can change that. And nobody's going to have the money that Chelsea have got. And nobody's going to be as attractive as Chelsea. So if he didn't want to sign for Chelsea, then why is he going to sign for anybody else? In a year's time, he'll be very rich because he'll be free in his mid-20s and he'll be able to be on the same wage again, basically based on his signing on fee. He's going on loan. I don't know why United keep banging this drum that he's not going on loan. Maybe we're so naive that we think if we say publicly we're not going to let him go on loan, Sancho will go, I better go and sign for Dortmund. But no one's going to buy him. Unless he's going to Saudi, he's not going to get bought. So I just don't understand why Man United are trying to keep putting it out there that they're trying to sell him. And they're putting it out there through good sources. But I just can't see it. I really, really can't. Dane Holden, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much for supporting the channel, getting your badge in and joining the rest of our members in the chat. Really appreciate that, Dane. Give a big shout out for Dane, our latest member of the United Stand Members Club. Get your badge in. Talking about, Simply Red was talking about Rasmus. This was from Fabrizio as well. Inter, I mean, this is a big significant update actually. Inter Milan are still in talks with Manchester United for Rasmus Højlund. They would prefer a loan, but if that's not possible, they'd settle for a low amount to buy him. This is a problem for Manchester United. I think some people would get excited that there is a genuine interest, but there is quite a few clubs that are genuinely interested in Rasmus. I don't know why. I think there's Napoli are interested, Inter Milan. There's another Italian club, I think Juventus. Why are they so interested in Rasmus? Well, I think it's very obvious actually. He was very good at Atalanta. They won't have forgotten about that. They'll also look at Manchester United and go, it's a really difficult job for what is effectively a kid to have to play up front for Man United and learn on the job. And also, they'll have seen what the likes of Scott McTominay and other players have done coming from the Premier League into Italian League and doing well. So I think they see a player there that could be a really good player for them. The problem is that interest isn't going to be enough if you want Rasmus to go, because a loan deal doesn't really help us, and a low transfer fee really doesn't help us because I think we need to clear 30 or 40 million just to break even. So it's how you construct that deal. Again, a loan deal, how does that help us? Even if we brought in Gyokeres or a striker, we'd still only have one striker again. We need two strikers. And I know we've got Obi, but he's very, very young. And I want two strikers because if my striker's not playing well, I want to start the other striker. Or if my striker gets tired, I want to bring the other striker on. I don't want to be throwing a 17-year-old on for 20 minutes every game or starting him in Premier League games away at Anfield because my other striker's not playing well. I think we need two strikers. So, yeah, I'm sure there is interest in Rasmus, but we haven't even bought a bloody striker yet, so we certainly can't be selling one. Having said that, we have got Xerxes, and I think it's very important to remember that Joshua Xerxes and Mason Mount are players that Ruben Amorim really appreciates. And it's hard to see how they're going to start games unless we're going to use them in positions we're not used to, i.e. we might use Xerxes more as a striker, I suppose. I don't think Sancho rejected Chelsea. I think Chelsea didn't want him. It's embarrassing for Sancho, so they are playing the whole contract story, says Nemanja. Well, that wasn't reported by all the credible people, did they? Was it? I mean, maybe you might be right. Hi, Mark. Did you know that Gyokeres' agent used to be happens to be the agent of Frankie de Jong? I have read this say So Gyokeres' agent is the same agent as Frankie de Jong's. Look, agents in football ain't necessarily, as in, on the same wavelength of us, let's just say. They're out to make money for them and their clients. Parasites of football, I think, is what Sir Alex used to call them, and I don't think he was that far wrong. Please talk about Mbeumo's tongue. No. We spoke about him at the start. It's the most boring story in the world. Until we sign him, it's the same old thing. We will get him. He will be the next deal, but not yet. Højlund, I think a loan with an obligation to buy is the best we can probably do. At which point is that worth it? No, Steve. And I think when you say obligation to buy, I think Man United fans have completely and utterly not interested in that anymore. I mean, I never want to hear the words obligation to buy again. I mean, Man United were... this doesn't get mentioned enough. Like, we talk about Ashworth, we talk about Ten Hag, we talk about ticket prices, we talk about sacking people, we talk about all the bad things that Ineos have done in the last 12 months. And I think people sleep on the Jadon Sancho thing. When we loaned Jadon Sancho to Chelsea, a lot of people were like, why are we loaning him to a rival? Because we thought Chelsea were a rival at the start of last season. Why are we doing that? And it got sold as it's an obligation to buy. So a lot of us went, I don't want him to be playing for Chelsea, but at least they've got to buy him now. No matter what happens, he's gone for £25 million and we make a little bit of profit. And they left that there. That was left for 7 months. And then in March, it might have been Ornstein actually, dropped it out that there isn't an obligation to buy. Chelsea can pay us £5 million to take him back. I still think that's a bloody disgrace. We've got mugged. We got lied to, actually. We basically got bloody lied to. Or conveniently, the truth was left away, which ultimately I think is still a lie. That was left by Manchester United Football Club with this fan base who spent weeks, months going, at least he's going. I don't mind him going to Chelsea because he's got to go to Chelsea. And they knew it wasn't the case, and they never said a bloody word about it. So I will never trust obligation to buy. And I would say it to any other club as well. Don't get excited about obligation to buy on a loan deal because clearly it's not worth the paper it's bloody written on. So, yeah, I'm with you, Steve. I think loaning players out, you do is the last straw, really. But with Jadon Sancho, you've got to loan him out because he's only got a year left on his contract. Seth Rollins says, match tickets prices have gone up £97. Give us your thoughts. Yeah, I've seen the statement from the Man United Supporters Trust and others. I mean, I don't have a lot to add on this because I think many of you have already spoken about it and we've spoken about it a few times over the last few months. The Glazers and Sir Jim were always going to raise your ticket prices. And I think Man City have reduced theirs or held them. They were always going to do it. You will pay for their failure, as you always have done. You pay the debt off. The Glazers have never paid a pound of the debt off with any of their money. It's Manchester United's revenue that pays the debt off. And that revenue is because of you, whether it's ticket sales, whether it's merchandise, or whether it's brands paying Man United. When Snapdragon pay Man United millions of pounds, they're paying it because they want you to know about Snapdragon. That's how it works. So you will always pay for the Glazers' failure. You will always pay for their debt. And that's what I would say about the ticket prices. I think it's disgusting, but why are people surprised? You will always pay for whatever they're trying to do. They won't pay for it. They're just in charge and they never put a penny in. You will pay for it. So I'm not surprised. And it will keep happening. You will always pay. They don't give a shit about you. They do not give a shit about you. There are football clubs who really do care about their fans and communicate with their fans. Not this one. They don't care. You will pay. They run it like a business. If they can get another £5 out of you every year, they'll do it. If they can get another tenner out of you, they'll do it. They don't care. I think it's sad, though, because I think it will change the dynamic of Old Trafford. And, I think that's never a good thing at a time where you need your fans. We don't want it to become a library. We want to try and make Old Trafford intimidating. But look, I can't sit here and rant and rage. I can rave about owners that ultimately aren't good. And you might, you know, when Mbuemo signed, you might start talking about how great they are because that's what happens. But they're not. They are what they are. They're business people, and they take the piss. Sancho clearly just wants United to suffer and the fans as well while he makes bags of cash, says Kevin. Thank you very much for that. Let me just have a double check. There was something else I wanted to mention to you as well, but I feel I'm going to forget it if I don't just quickly refer back to this. Oh yeah, it was just Fabrizio's update saying that Man United remain in talks with Brentford on a daily basis, trying to get a solution. It's always difficult to negotiate for their top players. And he also said about Ekitike that Man United have spoken to the agents in recent days to gain an understanding of the situation. Chelsea and Liverpool are also heavily interested. I think with Ekitike, I'm starting to feel, and I was thinking this morning only as a feeling, so it's good that David Ornstein and Fabrizio have spoken about it. It doesn't feel with Ekitike that we're actually in for him. It just feels like we're inquiring. It doesn't feel like we're going for it. And I think that that's probably a good thing at the end of the day because I don't feel that he is the right player for Manchester United. Get your questions in. We're a little bit early tonight because for my sins, and I say this, please join me for the watch along because I committed to it, and I actually I don't know whether anybody saw it on the my Instagram reel this morning. I'm trying to remember what the name of the account is. It is on at Goldbridge Mark as well. But I did this little video about the Club World Cup, and yeah, I'd already committed to doing Real Madrid against Al-Hilal weeks ago on That's Football because I actually thought Bruno might be playing for Al-Hilal and it's Real Madrid, and I'd forgotten that I was scheduled in to do it. So that's what I'm doing at 8 o'clock. So if you want to join me and just let's talk about, you know, who'd win in a fight between a shark and a hippo in a pond, or Agony Bridge or anything like that, or we can talk tactics on my EAFC career mode, which is back tomorrow, please do join me. Hats off, Mark. You said 2 more weeks ago about getting Mendes involved, says Bino. I'm glad some people remembered it because it's just logical. He is the Portuguese facilitator. He's done so many deals for Wolves. The fact that Gyokeres is involved, the fact that Jorge Mendes is involved now doesn't mean that he can't be involved for Arsenal. It wouldn't, you know, it's still a player moving from Portugal to the Premier League, so he could still be doing it for Arsenal. But the fact that he's involved now, I think if Arsenal signed Sesko, it could really, really help us. I actually read something today. I mean, this is relevant. So Sesko, Fabrizio said that it's not close to being done at the moment. But then I saw a quote about half an hour ago, and I think it was from the agent of Sesko, who basically said, we're going to act professionally and we're going to do everything in the interests of Leipzig to make sure that we do things properly. And if we can't do that, it won't get done. But, you know, I just think it's taking time with Sesko. And as Linda says, Sesko to Arsenal. If Sesko doesn't go to Arsenal, I don't know where he goes. A lot of people say to me, would you take Sesko at Manchester United? We really did want Sesko under Ten Hag, but we've got a very different manager now. So I don't know with Sesko whether he's the right type. I think Sesko would suit us better than Ekitike. I would say that, but I don't know that he's the right sort of striker. I think that where some people go wrong in their analysis of football is they look at Sesko, they look at Ekitike, they look at Gyokeres, and they go, Ekitike is the best. And technically, in certain things, he's better than those two. But stylistically, Gyokeres suits our system the best. Obviously, he played for bloody Amorim. But Liam Delap probably suits our system better than Ekitike and Sesko. And you have to look at that. You have to look at that. I don't think Gyokeres suits a Liverpool system. I think Ekitike suits a Liverpool system. So, you know, it really does depend on the way you're playing and what suits it. And I think we need a certain type of striker. I also think we need an experienced striker. I mean, we haven't mentioned this for a long time, but I still think it matters. Even with Garnacho going and Rashford going, and new players coming in like Mbeumo and Cunha, I still think you need a striker that, when he's not getting the service, is going over to them and saying, mate, fucking stop shooting and put the ball into the space when I'm running. And I think when you're Osman and you're Gyokeres and you're 26, 27, you can do that. I think when you're Ekitike in your first season in the Premier League at 23, I think you struggle. I think when you're Rasmus and, you know, you're 21, 22, you struggle. And players don't listen to you. And we saw that, didn't we, last season and the season before. But I think if you put Victor Osimhen up front and last season, and you've got Rashford and Anthony and Ahmad and Garnacho and Bruno shooting from distance, I think it doesn't take him long to go, I'm not going to score goals here. And if I don't score goals here, the word flop gets mentioned. And if the word flop gets mentioned, I'm a failure. And if I'm a failure, I'm not a failure. Stop fucking shooting from 30 yards and play me in. And then you go to the manager and say, why are they shooting and not playing me in? I'm Victor Osimhen. And I think that is what we need at Manchester United. And I don't think you can do that if you're Rasmus Højlund or Ekitike. But I think you can if you're Victor Gyokeres or you're Victor Osimhen. I think you can say, Gaffer, I've had enough of this. I'm running my arse off. I'm doing everything you say. And I'm getting no chances. Because every time we're on the attack, these lot are shooting or running into a brick wall. I'm making the runs, I'm making the moves, and they're not playing the ball. What are you going to do about it? And I think that's what you need. Somebody just said Victor Lindelof up front would do a better job. I don't know where. Look, Lindelof, Ericsson, wish them all the best. Don't know where they're going to go. But there you go. What about Xavi Simons? Oh, I know Beth was on about this being linked to him. That Xavi Simons link is absolutely 100% in the 5 strands of a transfer. Agent, let's throw Man United in. Because there's just no way we're in for Xavi Simons. We were last summer because obviously Ten Hag liked him, but we're not in for him. We can't afford him and we don't need him because we've bought Cunha and we're buying Mbeumo. We don't even need him. We're not in for him. Mike JW's gifted a membership. So has Elvind. Hope you're doing very well. Let us know where you're watching from. Thank you very much. Gavin says, can't sack Ruben if he hasn't been backed. He told United board it was a long-term fix and they hired him. Look, we could have a very difficult season next season. Absolutely. Of course we could. It could get very, very toxic. I hated the last few weeks of the season where you're just trying to hang on to the Europa League final when you're losing week in, week out. You've got people outside Old Trafford doing videos. You've got people on Twitter. You've got mainstream media, ex-players, and they're basically saying Amorim out. And I hated it. I was just like, can we get to the summer? Get to the summer. And they've all shut up because you can't be Amorim out in the summer because there's nothing to build your momentum. They're still Amorim out, but they can't say anything. You can't keep doing tweets about it or anything like that because there's no bad game that people can really get focused on. But next season, when the bad results start again, it will come back. So I'm not saying that he can't be under huge pressure. I think the media are ready to go. They're ready to go on him. Absolutely, no doubt about it. It's in their interest. Man United aren't going to win the league, and Man United aren't going to be in Europe. So, but Man United are always going to be a story, aren't they? So, really, they're never going to stop talking about us. Never. And the only thing they're going to talk about us is, the only way they're going to talk about us is in a bad way. And that's why you've got people like Simon Jordan talking about Amorim being gone by Christmas. Because they're going to be on us every opportunity they can. They'll be on us every bloody day they can. And it could get very, very toxic. And I hate it when it's like that in the fan base. And we saw what it can be like at the end of last season. But I don't see him going, Amorim. I don't think Amorim will be gone by Christmas. And I also think as well, I would say this to anybody that wants Amorim out. Why would you want him gone by Christmas? It's the most stupid thing a football club can do. We got Amorim out, we got Ten Hag out by Christmas and everything fell apart because you've backed him and then the players don't suit the new manager and then he hasn't got a pre-season, and then he's got a different way of playing, and everything falls apart. We sacked Ollie before Christmas, and Rangnick came in, and everything fell apart. Now, people will say, well, we sacked Mourinho before Christmas, and Ollie did well, but Ollie came in, and the players, that was the start of player power. So they were downing tools for Jose. Ollie came in, who was everyone's mate, and they tried for 3 months. But we don't have the same players anymore. And they down tools on Ollie very quickly anyway. So I think even if Amorim does badly, I'd still stick with him for another year. Because you never know. We might do badly till Christmas and then it might click. Or it might continue to get bad. But I wouldn't be bringing another manager in halfway through the season. Because I think it would prove that we shouldn't have done it with Amorim. So this sacked by Christmas bollocks, I don't want to see another Man United manager sacked by Christmas. If it goes bad, stick it out. Stick it out until the end of next season and then remove him for somebody else. Because we can't be sacking another manager before Christmas. It's just so relentlessly ridiculous. And I don't think they'll do it, to be fair, but I don't think it's something we as United fans should be pushing anyway. It's illogical to me. Let the media do it. Don't do it as a United fan. Like, you can beat Amorim out, of course, but I don't see the logic in sacking him before the end of the season. Unless you're just going to bring an interim in which case, don't give the interim person the job if they do okay. But, yeah, let's wait and see. If in doubt, stick it out, says Dali. Well, we've never done that. We've never done that. Michael, thank you. He's gifted 5 memberships. Thank you very much for that. Why is Ten Hag not going for Anthony? Why is he not going for an Arna mirror? Classic of 99 says, a mate's company doing redundancies. He prefers to get made redundant than get a new job for compensation. Don't blame him at all. Smart move, and it's comparable to Sancho, says Class of 99. Have you seen the Mudryk news, says Mimo. Worst transfer ever. I haven't, actually. Let me have a quick look. This might be something we can discuss on That's Football, but let's have a quick look. He's been charged. He could face a 4-year ban after a positive test for performance-enhancing substance. Yeah, well, I think he was a flop before that, wasn't he, really, to be fair? We can talk about that on That's Football. I've got a few things I want to talk about there anyway. Anyway, I better get over there. I will be there in about 5 minutes. I'm going to be a little bit late. I'm just going to grab a drink, and then I will be live with you for Real Madrid against Al-Hilal, or basically Goldbridge Q&A for the next 2 hours on That's Football. So grab yourself a drink and join me. Fantastic show tonight. Great, again, to have lots of things to discuss, which are new. Make sure you smash a like and leave your comments. Really appreciate you. Hope you appreciate the community. Rashi, Højlund, Xerxes, Obi as our 4 strikers. Thoughts. Diego Leon as our left back with Dorgu and Shaw. Also, can we have a TUS WhatsApp group open for all, says Sid. The last thing you said is good. We have got a TUS WhatsApp group anyway. I'll look into that, but I'm sure we've got one anyway. I'll see you over on That's Football in a minute.